Yay, aloha, and welcome to Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson, coming to you from Hawaiian beaches on the beautiful big island of Hawaii. Hooray! And I have my trusty panelist, Lori, on. Right before I came on, the thought occurred to me, nothing can kill the body. You know, that's something that it's been like, I notice in like headlines on the news, it's like um, someone died of something. They died of something. No one dies of anything. A body dies when it's perfect for that to occur, and no other time.
My God.
We make up reasons that it died to make
Yeah.
the illusion to, but you know, like why it died, there is no reason. There's really no reason. And that's why, you know, over millions of years, people have been trying to find out how to prevent death, and nothing works. Nothing works. If it's not one way, it's another. If it's not one thing, it's another. The experiences that everyone needs are coming. No one has a choice in it. How it happens, I hear you, Bob. I'm not on Facebook yet. How it happens isn't anyone's choice, and it's not really the reason that it happened. The reason is always the same. The reason it's always for healing. It's always for awakening the mind. Another way of saying it is it's for seeing things differently, so you can see through the illusion, every single perception that arises. All right, I'm going on Facebook Live, just like right here on Facebook Live, I guess. Since the Zoom thing didn't work. Welcome to Facebook Live. Okay. Use my camera. Okay. Done. I don't think I've ever done this before, but it doesn't really make a big difference, huh? Say something about this video, share it to a group. I could put it in my group from here.
Oh my God, I can't believe the shit I'm saying to my aunt right now.
Oh, yeah?
She's a Lutheran pastor, Hope. And I'm the one telling her that all her frustrations. Oh shit, what the fuck? Wow. But none of that's real.
Yay. Aloha, Facebook peeps. Yes, we were just talking about how nothing can really kill the body. There's a make-believe thing that seems to be responsible for killing a body when a body seems to pass away. You know, it's never born in the first place. Body's never born in the first place. It's really just projected like onto a screen. You know, there's all these apparent causes and effect in the world. You know, one of them is you can die if you contract such and such disease, and that's not how it works. The disease and the body and the death and everything is projected from the same mind. It's just making it all up. Okay. So then I was having this thought occur to me about, you know, death isn't caused by anything. And then came on here for Wisdom Dialogues Online, started talking with Lori, and Lori was talking about how she's having these instantaneous healings to the body, like apparent healings to the body. You want to talk about that a minute, Lori?
Well, everybody who's listened to you, as long as I've been with you, has known that I have had that boil, and it's erupted here and there on my left hip. And I just said to Peter today, I looked in the mirror and went, it's gone. I kept rubbing it. I kept trying to find something. It's been going. But I still could feel a little bit of something underneath there. And it's today, there is nothing. And then these things on my face that I was talking about a few weeks ago. What the? I actually started using what my girlfriend, I even had it. I didn't even have to go buy it. I already had it in my medicine cabinet.
Something showed up, yeah.
Yes, and it's called Sovereign Silver, and I've been using it. And then I had won before we left Maine, I had won some CBD cream.
Uh-huh.
And that was free, and they gave it to me, and I used it. It didn't seem to work. Now all of a sudden, these two together is friggin' what the fuck? It's like in 2 days. 2 days.
Yep. It's, healing is just more like, I'm talking about physical healing now, not mental healing, which physical healing is the effect
from the mental healing. So that's proof. It's proof that I'm healing. Then that's proof needed for the mind.
Yeah, I would leave that alone. But
I would leave that alone.
You keep on. You just keep alert as to what you're giving power to, because the less you give power to illusions, the less kinds of problems in any form you're going to perceive. And eventually we won't be able to perceive death. We won't be able to have that perception. Right now, a lot of people have the perception that death is occurring because there is a death wish inside the mind. There's a death wish. And if you're perceiving yourself as a body in a body, and that's basically, if you can see through the body's eyes, a body, then you're perceiving yourself as a body. And so there is a death wish there. And that's the reason for seeing bodies dying. That's a real reason for seeing bodies dying. But when we attribute things to it as if this did it to it, same thing with healing. Like if you were to say, oh, I know what gets rid of boils now, it's this thing. Or I know what gets rid of rashes on your face now, it's this thing.
Right.
It's the same thing. If you attribute health or unhealth to things in the world, you make yourself more of an image. You make yourself more. It's like you prop up your image more in your own mind. So that leaves you susceptible to things, to apparent things in the world, because your belief is so powerful. Likewise, you cannot do anything to yourself to cause anything bad to happen to you. You hear that. You hear that. Oh,
I have a story about this.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Go ahead. Do you want to go? You go first.
I'll be shared in a moment. Yeah.
You want me to go first?
I'll go and then you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like we assign this magic to different things, and it could be magic as in negative magic, or positive magic as in it brings you something bad or something good. So if you say that if you do this bad thing, you're going to hurt your body, you do this good thing, you're going to heal your body, that's really using the illusion to make your body into something.
Right. I see that. I see.
But you don't need illusions to make your body into anything. Your mind is always doing that. Your mind is always making an image until you don't need an image anymore. So, if you take a step back, you might notice, if you watch, you might notice that these things are just playing out on their own. Even whatever you reach for to apparently heal your body, or whatever it is that seems to be making your body worse. Watch how that is, because it's really common for people to say, oh, I did this to myself. I broke my leg even.
Right. Yeah.
It's like as if you made a movement that was wrong. You did an action that was wrong, but there isn't any right or wrong action. It's only the mind that makes it all up. So you can't get a healing by controlling your actions. You can only get a healing by changing your mind, which you have complete power over.
Choosing love over fear.
Yes. So what's your story, Lori?
Okay, so I was a week ago, a little over a week ago, a black man from Africa started
Mhm.
coming on my page
Okay.
and commenting really nicely, and we started talking on a thread, and he was understanding what I was saying,
Mhm.
and it was pretty deep, and I could feel the thirst, a hunger in him. He wanted it.
Mhm.
So he said, will you send me a friend request? And my shackles went up because he's a black man in Africa. You know,
Okay.
there's
I
a,
don't know, I don't
there's,
know what that means, but
well, I have had black men in Africa show me their dick pics,
oh, what fun.
talk about sex. They try to get in good with women who are lonely,
Okay.
and they sweet talk them and lure them in.
Oh, that's funny. I've never had that occur to me.
No, well, I haven't either, but I know some people who have.
Oh, okay.
So, well, so I believe. So I believe, right?
Well, you have a perception of it.
Yes, I have a
You
perception
don't
of
have
it.
to believe it because you have a perception of it. If you're admitting that, you know, if you always go back to it's projected from your own mind,
Right?
that's all it takes. Because once you see, oh, it's projected from my own mind, it's like you can't really make them outside of you. You can't really make them out like that. So you can still have the story, but it's just like it's coming from you
A
know
different
you're making it
perspective.
up. Yeah. Yep.
This is what Phoebe was trying to get to me the other day. The
She
other
was.
night. Yeah, she was trying to say the exact same thing in a different way. Ah. And I was so close. It feels like I was so close. That was it.
And it's every moment though. It's not like you're gonna miss any opportunities because you're always given the opportunity. You're always given another opportunity.
Which is on the love side instead of the fear side.
Well, the opportunity is just for you to choose. So whenever you're speaking about a circumstance, you're speaking about a person or anything, you're speaking about yourself, and just recognize that that is being projected from your brain. Actually, it has no reality to it whatsoever. It's completely projected from your brain.
Wow.
So when you're talking and you're telling a story and you're reminded of that, it changes the whole thing. It
Well,
changes your entire perspective on it.
I think that's why I haven't finished any of these stories that I've started to tell. Right? I haven't finished.
Who knows? Who knows?
Wow. Wow. Anyway, it's been quite the story of prejudice and all kinds of stuff. Africans having the pandemic worse than others, and I started feeling guilty.
Oh, so just all kinds of stories started coming in.
All kinds about all.
Basically, so you can see how you're just using the image of that person
Yes.
to make a bunch of stories. He's not even there. You start thinking about a dick pic. You start thinking about people being sick and stuff. It's like
People taking advantage.
it's funny though. It's comical. Even the feeling that it evokes, it's all comical.
It is actually.
Yeah, you see what's going on?
Just to get that feeling. It's all to get that feeling.
Yes, that's right.
We want that feeling.
Definitely.
In order to stay in the dream.
Yes, that's what keeps it up. That's what keeps the dream up. You get if you get that feeling and then you justify it with thought. If you justify the feeling with thought, like I'm feeling this way because this black man contacted me.
Right.
You know, you're not feeling that way because of that. It's the opposite way around.
Right.
You were feeling it, and then the projection is that it's coming from what someone's doing to you or how they're appearing to you. And that's it helps you to keep it hidden. It's almost like you have it buried in that person.
Have it buried in that person.
And then when you release that person, in your mind, you recognize it's your projection, you release that person. It's like that feeling can't hide. It was just hiding. You know, it's projecting to make more of it and also hiding in a body. But when you release that person, you release that projection from that body, then it doesn't have anywhere to hide. It's like, oh, I see you.
And the person was never there.
Aloha, Niall. That's right. Okay, I'm moving Bob to panelist. He has something to say today. He's asking to be a panelist. John, I see your hand. I'll have you up soon. Yay.
Okie dokie.
Bob.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Aloha.
Wow. So yeah, a lot of times I like to just sit back and be enlightened and entertained by you ladies, but they all say
like
something.
Bob. Okay.
So
It's good to see you, Bob. And hear
yes.
you.
So I'm
Hear you.
yes, I'm so happy you're having so many transformative experiences. And hi, Gail, that other
Hey,
lovely
Gail.
I want to get
rainbow
topless like
here.
Bob, so I'm going to get topless like
Oh.
Bob.
It's a repeat of last week.
Oh, okay, yes. Let's all follow Bob's example.
Go for it,
Yes,
Bob.
that's some pointy ears you have there.
Oh, she's got her ears on again.
So, you know, we can't go without it, which means that it's
We have to go
leading
within.
us to go further within.
Yeah.
So things on the outside aren't always looking so bright and cheerful, the apparent appearance. So it's forcing us to go within.
Yeah.
And so that then we release the power, putting power in the external, and we are more empowered within. So it's naturally we're going to get more healings. We're going to get more revelations, realizations,
Yeah.
transformations.
That's what's happening.
Because we're spending more time going within and looking at ourselves and discovering ourselves. So I posted just now on your Facebook, Hope, this video of this guy dancing with himself in the mirror. And he's dancing in the mirror so exquisitely, it looks like he's dancing with another person.
Awesome.
It's just amazing.
Wow.
And so you watch this and you see that anything on the outside is you dancing with yourself. Whoever is out there or whatever's out there is you, your dancing partner.
Yes.
And so life is a song and dance. So the man I see is the man I be. Whoever you're looking at or interacting with out there is you. It's kind of like those videos of the little kid or the little dog that looks in the mirror and gets frightened or wants to play or plays peekaboo. They don't realize that what they're looking at is themselves. And that's just it. Every person you're looking at, the illusion, the ignorance is thinking that it's someone or something outside of yourself that isn't you. Everything is your mirror, is your reflection. So the more we go within and discover who we are, the more that we see that love, that true identity reflected in everyone and everything in the external. And then that's what changes the external picture from the bleak picture that we see in the world, disease, death, and new world order and police state and all that, into a kingdom of God, kingdom of love, because this is what we've realized in ourselves, the truth of life. And then that's what we're broadcasting, what we're generating, radiating out through our energy field. And then this is what we experience in our life, just how you look in the mirror, and you just get back what you put into it. And you don't have to reach out and adjust the mirror. You just adjust yourself and the mirror automatically responds. So yeah, have a look at that video sometimes. It's just amazing. I've never seen anything like it. This guy dancing in the mirror, and it looks just like he's got another person dancing with him.
Wow. Oh, that's wonderful. I love the symbology of that.
Me too. Me too. Yep. Loving yourself.
It is like that. It's all thinking though, it's like the mind is what's being reflected. It's the mind that's being reflected.
Right.
And that projection that's projected outward, including the physical body and everything, first occurs as a feeling. The first manifestation is a feeling. So, you get the email from the Nigerian guy and get the thought about, him doing some kind of underhanded thing. That feeling of that doing of that underhanded thing is projected from the body's energy field. So whenever something like that occurs to me, I get that feeling in the body's energy field instead of making that thought real. It's kind of like what you're describing is kind of like, to me, I would describe it as kind of like a sleazy taking advantage of.
Yes. Oh my God. And then it was so bad between Peter and I because he didn't want me to, this kid wanted $900. And he was like, he's scamming you. And so everybody else is saying the same thing. And I'm like, but I feel his heart. Oh my God. Oh my God. The story was so deep.
Yeah, it's like all this story. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to send him money when he asks you for money, that that it's projected from you, and knowing it's projected from you also, you just ask for guidance. You just look for guidance from within. You don't make a concept of, oh, he's honest. Because that's just another concept.
Right.
If you're getting a perception and it feels like this, open yourself to guidance. More often than not, what I find is the guidance is, no, just leave that alone. It's not relevant for you. It's just kind of like a distraction.
Yes.
See? The things that occur on the surface, they're distractions. So it's like you get caught up. Should I have done that? Should I have not? You will not have a question if you're listening.
Yeah.
You won't have a question if you're choosing love, whether or not you're doing the right thing. Automatically.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
So that's one way the ego uses this. Anything I share here, everything I share is not true because it's all concepts.
Right.
And the ego can use it in a way that makes more illusions. So, when I say that it's all your projection, this guy being this sleazeball or whatever, it's all your projection. The ego will take that over and say, well, I'm going to make him the opposite. I'll make him good. and then I'll go get involved with him, you know. And so the ego, he'll have these ideas, you know, about, oh, and then I'll and then since whatever I'm projecting about him trying to take advantage of me isn't true, I'll choose to do these things with him. And that's all ego. You know, you don't make any choices like that, but that's like letting the ego be the guide. The ego is basically making the choices for you.
Right.
See, and it's all leading toward more and more illusion. It's all just making more and more basically distractions, things for you to keep on thinking about in a circular way, you know, and things to keep chewing on. And it could just be dropped. It could just be dropped. Boom. And it could be dropped even if you do find yourself relating with the person. It's just all easeful because you're listening. So just don't make it real and then let the guidance come as it comes. But it's making it real to try to make it the opposite of what you see, because it's not even the opposite of what you see either. It's just a projection.
Mm. Right. It's just a projection.
He's not good and he's not bad.
Wow.
It's just a projection. It's something for you to play with. It's something for you to dance with. You know, or not. You might find yourself not. A lot of it, you know, a lot of the offerings of the world that come up for me throughout the day, they're just not even given attention.
Like what?
I'm gonna put my dog in the house because he's barking. You guys have a little chat amongst yourself.
Okay.
I think I'll get dressed now.
You really don't. That's just like last week. Who was it? Molly didn't have clothes on last week.
It's so much more fun to do, especially in Hawaii.
Yeah, we're all closed up here in Fort Myers. Hey, Braun had his haircut. Yay! Hey, Braun.
Where do you see Braun's haircut?
Oh, he went running through.
Oh, he's
The dog is secured for the moment.
I don't recognize that dog's bark.
What's that?
That doesn't sound like Roki.
So, because he's in a cage because he busted out earlier.
Oh, he sounds so small.
Yeah, I thought
he
it sounded like a little.
Oh, that's his whiny bark.
It's his whiny bark. It's his I want to get out of the cage bark.
Oh, he has a different bark.
Yeah,
Several
totally.
barks.
So that's fun. Aloha Asana, love you. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Okay, so Castle John has his hand up. Let's see what he has to say.
Castle John?
Castle John?
Yeah, he's the one who built that castle over there in Seaview.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey.
Castle John, you are on.
Can you see me?
Your talking is permitted. Looks like your mic is on too. Okay, well, jump on whenever you like.
How do I turn it on?
Oh, you're on.
How do I turn it on?
You want to come on? You want to
Am I
come on
on?
video? You want to come on video?
I wanted to come on video too. If
Okay,
possible.
you're on.
The
All right,
connect-
you're going there. You're going there. Hold tight.
This is so fun. I have a lot of new people on my page too.
What fun. I know.
Yeah.
Neat.
I can't stop posting.
Yeah, I know. You got a lot. You go, girl.
I am on fire. Jeez.
Yay.
So am I still on there?
I hear your voice, and I promoted you to panelist. So it looks like you may need to turn your video on. I'm going to ask you to start your video. Let's see if something pops up like that. There he is.
There I am.
Hello.
Look at that beard.
Hello.
Look at that beard. He plays Santa. He plays Santa at our parade.
Oh, very,
that.
very easily.
Yeah.
So cute.
So it's Castle John.
Everybody in Waikiki here thinks I'm Santa Claus. I keep telling them, don't tell anybody that. I'm on vacation. I'm not supposed to be. Well, it's been quite an interesting experience being here in Honolulu. I don't know how much of my circumstances have been made public, but a lot of it's going to be made public here pretty soon. I could start out by simply saying I got out of Halava prison the day after Christmas. And I came from the hospital, from the infirmary, because I had been beaten to death 2 days prior to that.
Wild.
Yeah.
So you returned from the dead, is what you're saying?
I was in prison because I spoke out against the United States government in open court, and then had it all end up in the press too. And it kind of pissed off the judge. I think I called him a criminal and a war coward, and I threw gold glitter on him, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not going to go over well.
No.
Well, it's weird. There's no law against throwing gold glitter in a courtroom. So
Right.
I guess they hit me up for littering, right? And they gave me 10 years in prison for littering.
Wow, that's wild.
That is wild. Wow.
Of course, that's one version of what actually happened. Many versions. The beautiful thing is that I came out of prison with a perspective that I don't think I could have any other way. The last few weeks before I got out of prison, I was studying A Course in Miracles.
Nice.
And of course, I had nothing to do but meditate and study. So I read a lot of really good masters, including Robert Fulghum and Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. And I think Marianne Williamson is my favorite. Hope reminds me a lot of Marianne Williamson. And Marianne Williamson is a teacher that teaches pretty much nothing but A Course in Miracles.
Yes.
And so I recognize everything that Hope brings into her dialogue is pretty much being straight out of that, but put in a much more succinct language so that, it doesn't, the Course in Miracles is like 1,000 pages if you include the workbooks and all of that stuff, right?
I don't even know how many pages it is. It's huge. It's like a Bible.
Well, I do because I read them all. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make, though, is that I'm thinking to myself in prison, how many people are actually going to take read 1,000 pages to get the essence of this? So I asked Creator to send me a poem that would encapsulate everything that is taught in principle in the Course in Miracles in the form of a poem that pretty much anybody can understand, right?
Nice.
Let's hear it.
Are you ready to hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Bring it.
All right. There's nothing left to fear. No one to forgive. There is only love. So now begin to live. We are all but one. Eternal without end. Make your life a prayer. Be your own best friend.
Oh my God. That was awesome.
Thank you.
That was so good. Oh, and we have it recorded so that somebody can write it down.
This will be available
Well,
tomorrow.
I don't
Yeah, we
really
can
want-
post
I
it
really
on
don't want-
Facebook.
I don't want to take any credit for any of this because
No, we won't
I
put a
just-
name.
I just
We'll just put it out
well,
there.
No, you can put it out there. What I'm trying to say is, though, is that creator just shoves
Yeah.
this stuff into my head, right?
Right? Beautiful.
And then he puts a funny costume on me and he says, "Go out and tell everybody."
Nice.
Santa Claus?
Yeah.
So here's what's going to happen, Hope.
What's going to happen?
I'm getting ready to turn the castle. I should say resurrect the castle as a school again.
I love it.
It's going to be called the Citadel for Illumination.
Oh my God.
And what we're going to do is art, music, and cooking psychotherapeutic counseling. And it's all going to be based on A Course in Miracles, the skill of unity,
Nice.
all of the teachers. And I hope to be able to get some really, really famous teachers to come and teach.
What
I mean,
fun.
come on. No matter what kind of teacher and how famous they are, tell me they don't want to come to Hawaii, right?
Right.
No idea. Fish it out.
Hey, they'll come to Hawaii. I'm going to put them up in luxury style, give them gourmet meals because I'm a chef. I'm a gourmet chef, right?
Fabulous.
And the only thing that they have to do for us is teach as many people that can come to listen.
Beautiful.
So there is also going to be a full art studio there, a full music studio, and I got 3 kitchens. So anybody that wants to come to either teach or just participate in one of these activities, all I got to do is show up.
I love it. And thank you for
It's
your
all going to be funded by a charity because it's a charitable organization. And what I'm hoping to do down the road is actually do some big fundraising concerts and things there at the castle. I don't know if you're familiar with it. There's a huge lawn right out front of the castle. And prior to me being incarcerated, I was getting ready to bring in some really hot groups, some like Medicine for the People and
Okay. All right. So it looks like Castle John is going to have some really cool shit going on in his castle.
Yeah.
To get across to everyone.
Yeah.
and thank you, Castle John, for sharing about your experience in prison and A Course in Miracles and everything like that. And I'm really grateful that we get these opportunities. Sometimes we think it's something bad happened, like even putting like the court system and the jailers and the judge outside of ourselves is really doing us a disservice to put them outside of ourselves when we recognize we're just willing to see that this is a projection of a brain projection. It's actually an interpretation of energy. So everything's happening for us. And, as you can see, Castle John found freedom in there.
Yep.
And even if your body is in prison, it's like it's the mind that finds freedom. And it's like it doesn't even matter. So people be scared. I've heard from some friends recently, with this whole thing that seems to be going on in the world. Notice I say seems to be because there's no world. So there seems to be this stuff going on in the world. And what I hear amongst my friends is, I just want my nature. I want to be with nature. I don't want to be removed from nature. I don't want to find myself in some box or something like that. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter because nothing's happening here. And whatever you are interpreting, whatever energy you're interpreting, all it's doing is bringing up whatever it is that you need to see so you could have healing. That's all. So it's only going to matter to the ego, you know, and there's this sense, we were talking about this one yesterday too, like as if, you know, the earth is so sacred, let's say. Let's make it into something, like making it into something. And the thing about the earth, notwithstanding the size and how much things seem to be on it and how much life it seems to be giving and all that stuff, it's also projected from the mind. It's also a mental projection, no different from your body or say, you know, a table or a government or anything like that. There's really no difference. It's, you know, if you generalize everything that you can perceive and don't make anything to have some kind of significant importance on its own, then you'll be seeing a lot more clearly and you won't be setting yourself up for reasons to feel upset. So basically what happens is people set themselves up for reasons to feel upset by going, I like this, I like my freedom, whatever it is. And there's no freedom except mental freedom. And in that, you don't have a care about what becomes of your body. For one thing, you're not in charge of it. You've never been in charge of it. But thinking that you are in charge of it makes it appear that you are. And then it makes it seem like you're being victimized by other people. And it makes it seem like you make mistakes. And you also do things right, which is a setup for perceiving yourself doing it wrong.
Yep.
John, if you want to talk again, just raise your hand. I muted you because you went blank and so that you weren't just coming in and out. His hand is raised. Yay. There it is. Oh, wait, I didn't unmute you. Oh, I unmuted you.
You know, I love the whole concept of turning the tables on the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if people are familiar, there's also another concept called the alter ego. Has anybody ever heard of Charlie Brown?
Yes.
No.
Well, that's Charles Schultz. Okay. Have you ever heard of Mark Twain?
That's a different dude, right?
Yeah.
That's Samuel Clemens. Okay, that's Samuel Clemens, right?
Okay.
So Samuel Clemens has a alter ego, and that alter ego is Mark Twain. There's this weird guy named John who has this alter ego called Castle John, right? And you know, it's amazing because there's like thousands of people that know about this Castle John that probably wouldn't even recognize me if I was standing on their foot.
I recognize you.
I know you do because we've met. But you know, I've actually had people talk about this Castle John character right to my face as if like they knew him, and I'd say, well, don't you realize I'm the guy that you're talking about? Like, no.
That's awesome.
So
The man.
what I'm saying is turning the tables on the ego is simply saying, hey, if I'm going to have to put on an act, I'm going to, and the whole point of my act is to teach truth and to get people excited about things and to be happy. From my point of view, I was put here in this garden to be happy, to play, right? So I want everybody to come to Castle. We're going to play, okay? We're going to do puppet shows. We're going to do art. We're going to cook. Hey, we're just going to do all kinds of fun. And when we drop down into that childlike state, that alpha wave brain state, or psychologists call it a hypnagogic wave, we like a bunch of little children again.
Yes,
we won't recognize these adult bodies because we'll see the child within. The
Yeah.
child within, of course, is pure and innocent and totally connected to the Creator because there are no filters down there, right?
Yes. And here's the thing
No
about the innocent
filters.
child. Here's the thing about the innocent child. The innocent child doesn't see any sin. Doesn't
Right.
see.
Right,
So
right.
the perception of sin, all that's for is healing. You can ask to see it differently. And then then you get
Exactly.
that spiritual sight. That's what gives you that spiritual sight. You could see things clearly and know exactly what to,
Exactly.
not only do you know exactly what to do because you're being guided, but it's also done for you. You know, it's always done for
Right.
you, but it's done for you by the ego. It's like you're efforting.
Right. Well, what I remember what Jesus said. Of course, he said, in order to perceive the kingdom of heaven, you have to become as a little child, right?
Yes, that's
He wasn't
right.
talking about, right? He wasn't saying, to become naive again, become ignorant,
Innocent.
like a
Innocent.
child. Exactly.
Yep.
So, any message other than you are innocent is not from our Creator. It's from somebody else that's more confused than you are probably. So
Like that judge that
Like
sentenced you 10 years for littering
The
glitter.
littering, yeah.
Well, the judge totally did him a favor. That's
Yes, for sure.
it's like anything and everything is a blessing. Everything that anyone seems to do to you is a blessing. It's really awesome in the moment. And, this needs to be applied to be made real for you. It really needs to be applied. So in the moment when you get the sense that someone has done something to you and, you might get, oh gosh, why don't they just go away or whatever, anything like that.
right.
And you're just willing to see the gift in it, you start to get more insights. But it's kind of like a big dark veil goes over, like with several layers.
Right.
Whenever it seems
Right.
like someone is doing something to you, they're all up in your field doing something. And when you can apply the truth of the matter, the fact of the matter, that's all coming from you, then everything starts to shift. And you know what? It's the most difficult thing because it stirs up this ego fear of this illusion being made meaningless, because that really shows that it's meaningless if you're not going to take it as if it's real when someone has slighted you. Even if you have a complaint about someone, it's the same thing. If you start applying it to your relationships like that, it's like your awareness goes back into the mind that made it and undoes it. It just gets.
I tell you, it's a wonderful way to communicate with people is to reach their child within. I do it through humor, right? Because I found that before you criticize somebody, right? You can walk a mile in their shoes, right? That way, if they get pissed off, you're a mile away and you got their shoes. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like how many psychiatrists, does it take to change a light bulb? Right? It only takes one psychiatrist, but that light bulb has really got to want to change.
Ah! He just needs to be a little willing.
There you go.
Yeah,
Right, Hope? Just a little bit willing.
that's fun. Thank you, John. That was a really good symbol. So yeah, your mind is not going to change unless you're willing to have it changed. It's not just going to be changed for you. It has to be your willing. See, people pray all the time to God and Jesus and stuff to get what they want, even to get, released from whatever it is that they seem to be going through, fear, anger, sorrow, whatever. But without that willingness to change their mind, then nothing can be given. Because as soon as you say this illusion is true and then you want it fixed, that's making it unfixable.
Yes.
Making it
Well, it's interesting because there's one thing below the willingness, and that's desire, right? Everything starts with desire. The reason we're here in this world is we desired the experience, and so here we are. So in order to move through the willingness, you got to start with the desire. I want to be different, okay? I want to change. I want to do something different. Well, that's a desire. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, that becomes a matter of making the changes to the way you see the world.
Yes, that's all it is. You cannot change yourself. You can, the ego will make illusions that, whatever effort you put in is sometimes changing yourself. And then other times it's like, oh, why don't I have the willpower to change myself? It's because you can't change yourself. That's not how it works. When you try to change yourself, all it does is make the self heavy. It makes it heavy.
Yes.
And it makes you not receptive to your guidance, as if you can do it on your own. And doing it on your own is basically letting the ego do everything for you.
Right. Well, that's why I love Dr. Seuss. He's another one of my heroes, master to me. And Dr. Seuss put it like this. He said, "Be who you are, because those that matter don't mind. And those that mind don't matter."
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that was Dr. Seuss. I've heard that a bunch of times.
Yes. He also said something that was really good, and I give this message to anybody that wants to hear it. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, things won't get better. No, they will not.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes, and
you got it.
and that's taken. I see that taken in a way also coming from the ego, as if you're supposed to do something, and that's how a lot of people find themselves like in an activist role, because it's taken on as if I care about this thing, then I need to change it. And what most people are programmed to care about is the world. It's the care about the world. And just as you can't make yourself better, you also can't make the world better. You cannot make the world better by your actions. There's no action, there's no invention, there's nothing that you can do in the world that will alleviate suffering. You can make an illusion that what you've done has alleviated suffering, but that doesn't take care of what underlies, that fear that underlies the whole world. Because it doesn't take care of that, it keeps on coming back. And everything you make or build or anything in the world, it's all going with, it's all passing. It's all passing. It's all
this thing about fear, this poor guy goes to the doctor, right? And the doctor tells the guy, he says, "Look, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you've only got 6 months left to live." The guy starts to cry. He's like, "Oh, doctor, please, there's got to be something I can do to live longer." The doctor thinks for a second. He goes, "Well, you can give up smoking, and you can give up drinking, and you can give up eating rich food. You can give up staying out all night long and carousing." And the guy starts to feel hopeful. He says, "Oh, doctor, and then I'm going to live longer?" The doctor says, No, it's just going to seem longer."
All right.
Great one. I know, you hear all these stories. It's so funny. It's like there's evidence of it everywhere. You hear all these stories about how these certain foods are really good for you and other foods are bad for you. And then you see all these interviews with people that passed the 100 years old, and they're like, what have you been eating your whole life? And they're like, bacon and whatever.
Yeah.
Or a woman who was like, I don't know, 120. They said, what do you think kept you alive all this time? And she said, marijuana, tobacco, and moonshine.
There you go.
It's like as if like all this health stuff is going on, and it's like as if you can do anything to make your body healthy. All that does is put a burden on yourself. All that does is put a burden. There is no such thing. What's that?
I was gonna say I saw a really great bumper sticker the other day. It said, "Save the planet. It's the only one that we know of that for sure has chocolate."
Yeah, just make it really light.
There may be a million planets out there, but I know this one's got chocolate.
And it doesn't matter too. I've heard people talk about, well, I know I'm not from this planet. I know I'm an alien. I know I'm a star child. I know I'm this. I know I'm that. It doesn't matter. You're not from Earth either. You're not from anywhere in the illusion. And all those planets, when you look in the sky, you see stars. That's because the sky is dark. But in reality, there isn't darkness. So there's no stars to see. It's like there isn't darkness. It's just light. And, it's like with these body's eyes, we've been conditioned so that too much light hurts our eyes. But in reality, there's no hurting of anything. There's no body's eyes like we know. Body's eyes are made vulnerable. And so that's why it's like you need opposites in everything, this light, this dark, our planet and all those other planets, all this multiplicity. And there isn't this. And that thought that you're coming from another planet and don't belong here, it's like you don't belong on the other planet either. It's getting there. It's getting close. Yes, you don't belong on this planet. That's true. You don't belong on this planet because anything that you can perceive on this planet is energy being interpreted by a brain that's made out of the thought of separation. So anything that the brain interprets and reports back to your senses, your eyes, your ears, your sense of smell, the touch, anything that your brain interprets, thoughts, concepts, circumstances, it's all there to prove that you're separate. And that's what it's for. Because those senses are built on the thought of separation. And so anything perceived, it's made for proving that you are not who you actually are.
Well, that's a really good metaphor then when we talk about a costume. Why do people put costumes on? I mean, pretend you're a thespian, like me. Why would you bother to put a costume on? Why would you bother to put? You guys don't know for sure that this beard is real. It is.
I'm pretty sure.
The weird part is if I were to shave this off and come back, you wouldn't even recognize me. I have to
I'm sure.
On the street, go, who's that? So, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that this costume, if in fact that's what it is, then live it up. Decide what you're going to be, what kind of character you want to be, what kind of message you want to send to the world, right?
Like Santa Claus?
I actually was, I don't know if you knew this, I don't know if I ever told you this, Hope, or not. I actually was the Santa Claus at the Pinnacle Mall many, many years ago, right?
Oh, yeah. You were also Santa Claus at our parade over there. Weren't you at Savio? I'm pretty sure my son was on your lap, and we have a picture of you and him.
Right. Well, and the funny thing is when I was at the Pinnacle Mall, I would be telling people, look, don't tell them, but I would pay them to do this job, And so, the whole routine was, the boys and girls would come, they'd sit on my lap, I'd ask them about what they wanted for presents, And they would tell me right, and then I would say, look, all you got to do is be really, really nice to your mom and dad, and you can pretty much get whatever you want, okay? Just remember that.
No
And,
shit.
and so this one little girl comes up to me and she goes, Santa Claus, I don't really want anything. And I said, oh, why not? She goes, well, you know, my neighbor, my friends next door, their father just died. And I'm really, really worried about that they're not going to give me any presents because, you know, it just was a bad thing. And so, Santa Claus, whatever you were going to bring to me, I want you to bring to them.
Aw.
And then this little girl looks at me and she goes, Santa Claus, why are you crying?
No shit, right?
It was hard to live through that because I realized that each one of us has got that beautiful, perfect, innocent little child inside of us. And when most people put that adult costume on, they forget all of those things. They forget the ideals. They get, as Hope has said, they get conditioned by the world, and they're wearing less of a costume and more of like a suit of armor, right, Hope?
Right.
That's what it gets to be. Yeah, it's because it's like it becomes threatening. The world becomes so threatening. You know, even if it's the government that's threatening. You know, for instance, like to get back. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel asked me to come back to the making the body healthy. You know, it's just. Same thing as making like a food into a threat, you know, like that's a bad food. We've been told that certain foods are unhealthy, and it's not like anyone has victimized us in that. You could say we taught them to say that to us, because everything that we perceive people coming back to us, they're showing us what we want to see. So they're showing us what we taught ourselves about who we are. So it's kind of like we taught them how to tell us that, how to condition us to say these foods are healthy and these foods are unhealthy. And, you know, as a child, as an innocent child, and you find out, you know, maybe you're eating something and you're really enjoying it. And then you find out, hey, you can't eat that too much of that. That'll do something like this to your body. And then it's like, really? You know, like they don't have it before they have a concept of being vulnerable like that. Like they can hurt themselves. You know, that's just given information that's given to them, and then there's this sense that, oh, I have to be really careful, like I have to give a lot of thought to whatever I'm going to eat. So then that becomes a distraction. Not only does it become a distraction for the mind and set the mind up for more fear, but it also projects unhealthiness onto the body. And every single perception that you have of any kind of unhealthiness, it's all a projection of fear. It's not really coming from some kind of circumstance or something that you did. Any kind of injury, any kind of lethargy, including, you know, of course, the coronavirus. Yes, that too. It's coming from fear, and fear based on a guilty self-concept. So it would seem to be that if we wanted healing around everything and to have, you know, a healthy body, a healthy mind, a healthy everything, then we would do whatever we can to eliminate the guilt. And all that doing is a choice that we're making in the mind. It's not a physical doing. The physical doing, that gets taken care of automatically. You know, when there's always this asking, like, how can I see this differently? You know, how can I extend this truth that there's no guilty party? And, you know, sometimes you can't extend that in words at all, because to the ego, that's a major threat. You know, people will seem like they're totally attacked when it seems like, you know, you're telling them that they're not guilty. And if they feel attacked like that, you don't have to keep on having a convo with them. You know, I've had people actually like run away. Actually, run away. like, oh, okay. Thank you. You know, I had a man come up to me and we were in the smoking section over at Disneyland, and he said something about all of us being addicted to cigarettes. And I go, addicted? I go, there's no such thing about that. There's no such thing as that. That's a concept meant to make people guilty for what they seem to be doing. And he was like, AA, I'm an AA. And then he ran away.
Oh.
So it was really interesting to me. You know, it's like there's this sense that you need the guilty self concept. And I know, because I was caught up in that for a long time too. Like with regard to food, I would totally use the guilty self concept to make myself eat healthy. And then what I'd always find is it would be self-sabotaging. You know, over the decades of that, I would see how self-sabotaging it was, because I would feel really good if I was on a roll eating what I thought was healthy, and then all of a sudden I would perceive myself eating a bunch of unhealthy food and feeling really shitty. You see how that makes you into a doer and a guilty party. But it's really the mind playing out, and it's playing out of the concept that you can do something to make your body healthy or to make your body sick. So you're going to see your body being more healthy. You're going to see it more healthy the more that you don't buy into concepts that make it into a thing that you have to control. And the same thing goes for other bodies. That's the thing Lori was sharing earlier about some healing. Someone said, I'm not sleeping. I'm not getting any sleep at night. And then Lori sat in the light for them, kind of, you know, sat there and like surrounded them with her light, you can say, just in a loving way. And then the next thing you know, they're sleeping.
The very next day, I texted and I asked her if they were sleeping, and she said yes. I said, well, I kind of put you in the light. I can't believe I even said that to her. I said, and that was her husband. She goes, can you add me and the dog to it now?
You'll all fit.
That's how it was. So,
well, that includes, you know, anyone else. Like if anyone, you know, shares with you a symptom that they're having, or you happen to perceive a symptom on them or something like that.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's all. That you have all the power. Your mind is the ultimate power. So you have all the power, and even if you don't see it, it takes belief first. It takes believing first. So even if you don't see it, and you know you're probably gonna see what, you know, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and going back and forth and stuff like that. Maybe you won't see it working at all. Maybe you'll see it working all the time. But you know, it's like your belief in what's true makes it so in the world, and you have to believe without seeing.
Right. You can't trust the evidence.
Not trust the evidence.
Right.
That's exactly right. But you know, even if you see some kind of malady or sickness or discomfort on another person, whether it's yourself or another person, just taking it back to your own mind, and you know, being willing to see that this is a brain. I love to go back to this brain interpretation, because that's what it is. It's a brain interpreting energy, and it comes back to being that you're not guilty of it. You're not guilty of it. And that's what another thing that the ego will put up is being afraid of. How can I be responsible for everyone's illness? You know, it's like, well, you're not responsible as an ego, forget about it. It's nothing. The ego's nothing. The ego is just something programmed to be your pseudo self, to pop up and give you fear-based thoughts all the time. But it's just nothing. It's just like it's okay. You know, I can take full responsibility for this because no one is guilty of it. Everyone is innocent. And in taking full responsibility for it, you're not giving power to illusions. So you're reclaiming the power in your own mind. Your mind always had the power. It's just that it was given to an illusion. Like for instance, Lori, when you see a boil on yourself, when you see a boil and it looks like that boil has some power, like maybe it's going to last for a certain amount of time because of the way it looks or anything like that. But, you know, everything is instantly transformable. Even if you don't see it instantly transforming, you hold your mind to the truth. Anything that comes up that tries to deny the truth, you bring that to what's true, and it starts to show you more and more. You get more guidance.
Oh.
Your body's perfectly protected and safe if your mind is innocent. So it's like, do whatever you need to do. Not that you have a choice in it, but it's just giving yourself permission. Do whatever you need to do to feel safe in the meantime. If you think that COVID-19 is contagious and that a mask is going to stop you from getting it, put the mask on. And still admit that you're making it all up. That's all. It doesn't matter. It's not like a bad sign on you. Oh, you must not be this or whatever it is. But we all have our different ways of interpreting things. Our brains interpreting things different ways. I mean, from my perspective, the brain interprets any kind of anything in the world as completely harmless. Any virus or anything like that. It just interprets it like that. You know, if I have the sense of someone running up here right now with a knife and they're about ready to chop me in the head or something like that, my brain's probably going to interpret that as a threat. And then at the same time, being mind, I have the power to overlook that as the threat that it's interpreted as. See? And if I have the perception like, oh my God, someone's running at me right now, and my brain will get a certain interpretation. My body's energy field will react to that interpretation. But as mind, I have all power to overlook that and be like, oh, hi. See? And then you could get a different interpretation. You know, all of a sudden the guy's running by you because he saw something over there or something, you know, it's like, it was like, you know, you can get completely different interpretations. Like, you know, where maybe for someone where it used to be they were really scared of germs and getting diseases and catching diseases and stuff, when they kept on bringing that to the truth, the next thing you know, their brain's interpretation of that kind of stuff is that it's not a threat. Like for me, it's just even the brain's interpretation is it's not a threat. So it's like it's like your projected mind gets taught. Your projected mind learns. You know, that's the whole ego structure, brain interpretation, all of that. So I'm calling the projected mind. It learns about who you are and then doesn't make those interpretations in the same way anymore. So that's what they would call rewiring. So then you're making different interpretations. Whereas the brain would interpret some things as a threat before, maybe now it doesn't interpret those things like that anymore.
Because the pathway was changed.
Exactly, because the mind is more powerful and able to overlook all the brain's interpretations.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's give Gail a chance. I haven't heard from her today. Hey, Gail, are you around? You want to come on? You have anything to say?
I'm smoking.
Oh, how wonderful. We love your little cigars.
My lady cigars.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I have to say, Hope.
I smoke them with her too. It's really fun.
And I've been chain smoking these beautiful little anyway. Castle John, you're adorable, first of all. Bob and Lori, I've had my rounds with you, not personally, but the ego has interpreted you as both as like, will they just stop talking or whatever the chatter in my head. And I want you to know that I've completely fallen in love with you by being on these in these conversations. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Same thing for me, Gail. Actually, for me, it was how pretty you are.
Did you see my boobs or something?
And Bob, it was about talking too much too. But when Bob came on today, I just felt the love.
Yes, yes. So that's been present, and also allowing you each to speak and to be in your presence has been rather healing, in the sense that, Hope, you've been saying in this entire conversation, of course, exactly what was needed, because I've been sitting on this really deep-seated upset with somebody who works for our company and who seems to be, or appears to be, throwing a wedge in between my mother and me. And I have refused to do anything she wants to do. Not my mom, but this lady, to the point where it's like it could be considered a detriment to the company with my positional, righteous, not going to do it attitude. And so I felt very justified, and I've been walking and talking myself through this today, saying, this is for me. It's showing me something. She's not doing anything. I'm simply projecting it. And damn her, because I love her, because if I say that I hate her, I just hate myself.
Oh, that was so good.
So there was a lot of mentation to that, because I'm still underneath it, stewing and brewing. It was just a bunch of
But you
smart
saw
stuff to
through
say.
that. You saw.
And Lori, because of this conversation, I've allowed there to be a departure from that train of thought that I've been so attached to.
Yeah.
And but it's been feeding the circuitous thoughts that are so boring. So I've allowed other things have sort of risen to the surface, other points of view. So
Amen.
I thank you so much, each of you, for the alchemy that allowed for this to happen.
Yay.
Mm.
You're welcome. Well, I was going to tell you this. I heard this about this guy that he got a little depressed, and he went to his wife and he said, "Honey, I was just looking in the mirror. I'm getting old. I'm getting wrinkled. I'm getting gray. I'm getting pudgy. I'm just not really feeling that good about the way I look. I really need for you to pay me a compliment, please." And his wife looks at him. She goes, "Well, your eyesight's good."
Your eyesight's good.
Nice one.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. She was right.
Okay, so Carmelino wrote,
Oh
Carmelino wrote something to us. He said, allegiance to the denial of God is the ego's religion. The God of sickness obviously demands the denial of health because health is in direct opposition to its own survival. But consider what this means to you. Unless you are sick, you cannot keep the gods you made, for only in sickness could you possibly want them. Blasphemy, then, is self-destructive, not God-destructive. It means that you are willing not to know yourself in order to be sick. This is the offering your God demands because, having made it out of your insanity, it's an insane idea. It has many forms, but although it may seem to be many different things, it is but one idea, the denial of God. And that's a quote from A Course in Miracles, I'm pretty sure. I don't think that came from Carmelino.
It was so much words.
Oh, I know. For most people, that's like way too much. All right, let me break it down for you.
Oh my God.
Ooh,
I was going along with it, and then all of a sudden it was like, well,
So allegiance to the denial of God is the ego's religion. So, God is his perfect peace.
right.
Which would translate in an illusion also to be perfect health, yeah?
Right.
So it's like it's like the denial of God. So it's like to show these symptoms and things that can cause symptoms.
It's afraid. It's afraid of God.
Yes, it's afraid of God. So it's always like projecting some kind of death, fear, that kind of stuff. The God of sickness, you could say the ego is the God of sickness, demands denial of health and not denial of natural health. It's like you need something to make you healthy. Or you avoid something to make you healthy. Okay? And because health is in direct opposition to its own survival, the ego needs death for its survival. There's the
Right.
fear of death is what keeps everyone in conflict, and that's what keeps the ego going. Unless you are sick, you cannot possibly keep the gods you made. See, that makes the ego real when you can say, oh, I'm sick. I'm sick. And one of them is, I'm sick, I can't go to school. It gets you out of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just walking along in my room today, and the kind of like a thought feeling occurred to me, almost like a desire to be sick. And I was like, wow, that is a trip. And it's like, now that I have more clarity around, I always would have that desire, like, oh, I haven't been sick in a while, it'd be nice to, go lay down and be sick, and it's like, and it's like there's this underlying the life, this desire to be sick, this desire for death, and that's an ego desire. It's not you, it's not your voice, it's not something to be ashamed of. I'll hear people go, oh, no, I never have that one come up, and it's like, you know what, I guarantee you it's there. It's just that it's not seen, it's hidden, it's projected, it's projected, it's hidden and projected. You might see like sad people, oh, how that's so sad, and it's like, that's the projection of that.
It's so uncomfortable when that happens.
What's that?
It's very uncomfortable when that happens.
When you see someone else sad?
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know what to do because I'm buying into it.
Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Even if you see, you're not buying into it. You're not really capable of buying into it. It's kind of like occurring in front of you, like on a screen.
Okay.
And then when you add this concern about buying into it, it makes it so that you can't see through it. It's buying into it. That's what's making you all. That's what's getting you all fired up, because you're like trying to stop buying into it. Just be aware of what's buying into it, because it's like, take one step back. Keep on taking a step back. That is buying into it when you think that you're that one buying into it and you want to change. But it's not buying into it if you're just watching the show of what seems to be.
There's no attachment. That's why the attachments have to go.
Taking a step back and getting detached from the situation. If you seem to be caught up in something, it's okay.
Right.
It's totally all right. So that's why, it's like, be open to seeing the thoughts occur, because the thoughts are worldly thoughts.
Right.
You're not going to get rid of worldly thoughts. And the ego wants to help you make a spiritual self-image of someone who has gotten rid of worldly thoughts. Oh, those kinds of things never occur to me and stuff like that. Let them occur to you, because they couldn't occur to anyone better if you're going to be there ready to basically give them up.
You got to remember the story, see, of the 3 carpenters that were having lunch. And they were up on this really, really high scaffolding, right? And the first carpenter opens his lunch pail and he goes, crap. He goes, I get the same lunch every day. If this happens to me tomorrow, I'm jumping off of this scaffolding and I'm going to end it. And then the other 2 carpenters, they look in their lunch and they're like, yeah, that's the same thing to me. We'll make a pact. We get the same lunch tomorrow, we're going to jump. And so the next day comes around, the first carpenter opens his lunch. He looks and he goes, oh, thank God I got a different lunch today. And he starts to eat. The second carpenter opens his, and he goes, oh, thank God I've got a different lunch today. And he starts to eat. The last carpenter opens his, he goes, damn it, it's the same lunch. I can't take this anymore. And he jumps. Yeah, splat. And then the other 2 carpenters look at each other and they go, doesn't he make his own lunch?
Oh,
God.
Okay. So let's go on with that. We were health is in direct opposition to the ego's survival. But consider what this means to you. Unless you are sick, you cannot keep the gods you made. So that unless you perceive like some kind of symptom, what is going on? Is that me?
You're ringing, Hope.
Yeah. What is it?
You're ringing.
I'm ringing. I don't know. Where's that coming from?
it was like a messenger.
Yeah.
When the messenger is calling someone.
So unless you have this sense of a sick body, and that's why it keeps on coming around. Someone's body is sick. That's why it keeps on coming around. So you can keep these gods that you made, these causes in the world, these things that make you vulnerable in the world. That's how you can keep the cause. You can keep propping those up and as if they're real. Okay? And you need sickness to do that. For only in sickness could you possibly want them. It's a sick mind that makes you want these things. It makes you want to say something like, for instance, these people died of COVID. That's not possible. It's not possible to die of COVID. You can't die. You can't die of anything. You get the perception of dying. It's not caused by something. That's what you were talking about earlier today. That's an important point. It's not caused by anything. Don't believe that it's like it could be caused by something, like your body could be hurt by something in the world. You get caught up in that belief, that becomes the God. That becomes one of the gods you make. You know, one of the gods people make is that germs can attack. And, you know, how can you have that without perceiving sickness?
Yeah, it's like that poor guy that his wife takes him to the doctor, and the doctor examines him, and he comes out, he says, look, your husband is really bad off. You need to start making him 3 gourmet meals a day. You need to give him a massage whenever he needs it. You got to start waiting on him hand and foot, or he is going to die. And so the wife thanks the doctor, and they get in the car, and they're driving home, and the husband turns to the wife and he says, honey, what did the doctor say? And she turns and looks at him. She goes, you're going to die.
Okay. Thank you for that, John. Okay. So then it goes on to say, blasphemy then is self-destructive, not God-destructive. You know how it said that blasphemy is supposedly against God, but you know the real blasphemy is against yourself. It's like thinking against yourself. It means that you're willing not to know yourself in order to be sick. And that's something for me. It's really big, like just in being willing to admit that I'm making this sickness up in order to not know myself. Whether that's perceived in myself or perceived in other people, I'm making that up in order to not know myself. And so then you get to see how you're holding things up, how you're propping things up. You know, it's not like you have to go out looking for sickness, but it just kind of crosses your perception. And, you know, that the desire to be sick and the desire for death is sickness. And that's the kind of thoughts that circulate the mind when you perceive yourself in a body. Most people are covering that up and projecting it outward. There's not a willingness to see it. There's not a quietness and a willingness to see it. And, you know, when I first started seeing it, it was kind of like I first started seeing it out of the corner of my mind. Like it was kind of like I caught a glimpse of it, but it's like, what? You know, it plays underneath the surface. But when you start to look at the manifestations that are being made, you start to come back into what's making that. You start to see that death wish, the death and sickness wish. This is the offering your God, the ego, demands, because having made it out of your insanity, the ego is made out of insanity. It is an insane idea. It has many forms, but although it may seem to be many different things, it is one idea, the denial of God. You understand that, right?
Yes, clearly.
This thing about sanity is really, you know, it's very dear to me. And, you know, when I was in the insane asylum, me and this guy that was in my room, we were like, we need to get out of this place. So I need you to go out to the fence, right, and measure it. If it's more than 5 feet tall, then we'll climb over it. We'll dig under it. If it's more than 5 feet tall, we'll dig under it. If it's less than 5 feet tall, we'll climb over it. So my friend goes out to the fence, and he comes back and he's all distraught. He's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I said, what's the matter, man? What's the matter? He goes, there is no fence out there. And I'm like, we're never going to get out of here now.
Because there's no fence.
Okay, now thank you, Kai Molino, for sharing that quote with us. I appreciate you. Aloha, Cynthia. I'm going to add Yulia to our huge panel today. She has something to talk about or ask about or something. Yay, Yulia.
Well,
Welcome.
yeah, because I love you now too.
Hey, Yulia.
Yay.
Yay! I'm finally joining the party. I was
Yay!
look at the crowd. Yay! Really cool people. And I've spoken to Gail before, I think. And she does look pretty cool with her cigarettes and all that. And
Yeah.
Castle John is very impressive too.
Yeah, isn't he cool?
Yes.
That's so funny.
It's just a character. Don't trust the character. It's not really who I am. It's just it's a costume.
You know, none of us are who we are. I mean, this whole thing, you know, the cigarettes and whatnot, you know.
And the black men from Africa.
Yeah, and the black man from
Right. Could be a black woman or not black woman. You never know. Could be a white woman from Romania.
Ah.
I don't know. It's just hope is still it. Hope is the best teacher.
Thank you.
Everything you say is like I can't really ask questions. It's just I just wanna hang with you guys.
Yay, thank you.
Aw.
I mean, there are things, you know, that come up, there's thoughts, there are feelings, there's this and that, but I do know the answers every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
You know.
yes. Just the application, I guess.
That's
Or
the thing. Yeah, exactly.
bring it in time, or sometimes you remember everything and you know everything and you just have a weird feeling. That's all there is.
Yeah.
Like, why can't I stop all this? Why can't I? They're like, well, there's no me. There's nothing to stop. Well, why won't it stop?
When is all of this gonna stop? When is my life gonna get the way I think it should be?
Something like that. Like, when will everything? When will there be the feeling that it's all perfect or something like that? You know, if you put it into words, it's hard to put it into words.
Yeah, it's not coming from the world. That's the thing.
Right.
The sense of everything's perfect. It's not going to come from the world. It has
And
to.
I do remember that too.
Yeah, good.
I loved what I loved what Marianne Williamson said. You know, she teaches A Course in Miracles, and she came right out once and she said, you know, if you just remember two things, you will have this happy, peaceful life. And she says the first thing you need to remember is that God's plan works.
Ah.
And she says the second thing you need to remember is yours doesn't.
That's how you're always going to get caught up, setting yourself up for more misery if you think you know how to do things. You know what needs to be said. You know what needs to be done. You know, it's when there's openness to the guidance, and you're just willing to be guided into the next step, this moment. You know, what was it? The next best? No, the next right thing was from the Frozen movie. I ended up watching Frozen 2, Gail.
I am dying to see it. God, I want to see it.
The next right thing is being done through you wherever you're open to the guidance for it. So it's like an opening to guidance is really willingness to surrender what you made of it. To surrender what that interpretation that's being given you is, and opening up to a new interpretation. You know, when you know you got the wrong interpretation, you know you have your own interpretation of things. If you feel upset, it's really that simple. If you feel any bit of upset, any bit of discomfort, that's how you know. Because people might be like, how do I know the difference between if it's God's plan or it's my plan? Well, you know by how you feel. That's how. Any kind of thought that feels constricting or disgruntling or annoying or anything like that, that's your plan in action.
Yeah.
You can see what it's doing to you. You get a really good view of what it's doing to you. And then you can allow yourself to receive your real guidance, and that'll lighten you up and also make you feel healthy and vibrant.
So basically, whenever you're not feeling vibrant, whenever you're not feeling really alive, no matter what,
Right.
you're being guided by the ego.
That's right. And that's just that's just a way of looking at it, a perspective, a way of looking at it that invites the miracle, that it opens you up to the miracle and the healing, is looking at it from that perspective. Like, this cannot be correct, and all that needs to be corrected is my mind. You give all the power to the mind, because that is the fact. That is the fact. I mean, it's even shown in science now, but it just hasn't made its way into mainstream. And people haven't gone, okay, this is the new thing. What we said before about that theory of disease that we have, and that theory of diet and everything. Actually, it's all projected from your brain. This is known. It's just that it's not known to all the people because people don't want to know it.
All right. Look at human history, every time people believed something collectively, it was usually pretty stupid. And 100 years later, everybody knew it was stupid, and it just goes on and on. Why would we collectively believe now be any different from everything before?
Yeah.
And
so nothing changes really until the mind is changed about what this is. And we see how it could be taken so real. I mean, you could say like all of us, we're kind of on the very front edge, cutting edge, or however you want to say it, of looking at this stuff in this way, because what we perceive, we have a perception, a world perception, is that most of the world is not. Most of the world is seeing a world in separation, and that's why we have an illusion of people being quarantined and all this stuff. It's all fear, and it's based on something that isn't even really
well, it's not affecting me.
Not even known to be a fact.
It's not affecting me at all, Hope.
Cool.
I don't know anybody who's sick. Huh?
Nothing can affect you.
Right, but I'm just saying, I don't know anybody. It's like I'm living at I hear people talking about.
Actually, the funny thing is, almost everyone I talk to doesn't know anybody who is sick. And neither
I don't know anyone. Does anyone know anyone?
I heard of someone who is in the family of someone at my boyfriend's work. I know someone else. That's all I know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of anyone. I talked to my mom today. She lives in Arizona. She said she doesn't know anyone. But
I mean, you can almost believe into a conspiracy theory,
What's that?
You can almost make a conspiracy theory out of this,
Oh, plenty of people are doing that. That role's already taken. We're good on that.
Yes, I know. That's a big one, yes.
That's a lot of good entertainment too. It's really fun having the different conspiracy theories come up.
Oh my gosh. I'm so close to saying to my brother-in-law, don't waste your energy. I mean, he's sending out all this negative shit. He's the only one who's sending anything to me.
Yeah, it's all just unbelievable stuff. It's not, and the idea that there's a virus itself, that you could say that's a conspiracy theory too.
Yep.
But wait a minute, isn't the whole world and all the people and the virus and the panic and the media are us and not in our mind? They're made of our mind because there's nothing else.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's projection. So you could say all the conspiracy theories and everything like that, they're just made to make the mind real. I have one friend who was sharing with me, oh my goodness, I got so caught up. She was telling me, I just got so caught up in those conspiracy theories that I was so upset for 2 days. And then all of a sudden, and then she started to have conflict with people. And then she was like, she's someone who comes to Wisdom Dialogues too, and she was like, holy shit, I have to like drop this like it's hot. And she freaking dropped all of it. Dropped all the stories because she saw what it was doing to her. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of all these conspiracy theories arising in your perception to try to hook you and get some fear. When you're feeling fear, you're feeding the illusion. And that doesn't mean to be afraid of feeling fear. If you feel fear, feel it with some awareness of what's making it. Then you're not justifying it. Mm-hmm. Feeling fear in that way is more like a holy fire. It's more like burning it away. But if you're just feeling fear and feeding it with these stories, that's what's making more illusions, and that's what's making people feel sick and everything else. There's nothing happening still.
Yeah, and I don't even mean just this situation with the virus. I mean, in general, isn't it a kind of like view that if we perceive people that are doing anything wrong, right?
Right.
Or some that are not seeing things right. That's it.
Yep, it's all coming from the mind, and the reason to know that, is just to know that there's no one out there. They can't threaten you. They cannot threaten you. But you can see illusion. You can see when someone's speaking delusional. You can see when someone's speaking delusional. Yes, still your mind, so it's not a threat. It doesn't mean you have to teach that person something. But there is a teaching and learning opportunity arising.
For me.
Yes, right. always, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so you just stay alert and you keep on getting the blessing.
Friend,
something else I wanted to bring up. There's like...
Yulia, I did something for God today.
Yes? What?
Can you see it?
Hey!
Good job, Gail.
I need to order stickers like that, and I need them from my older son, from my younger son.
Your son, they crack me up.
And yells at him to shower, and then he doesn't want to shower most of the time, and there's like drama in my house.
Yes, you've always got beef with your boys.
It's like the general. See, the general went out to the troops that were still out in the field, and they hadn't had a change of underwear for a very, very long time.
Oh.
And so the general is like, he goes, "Men, I've got some great news." He goes, "And I got some bad news too." He says, "The good news is that everybody is going to get a change of underwear." And all the men are, "Yay!" And he says, "Now here's the bad news. Bill, you got to change with Fred. Fred, you got to Joe, you got to change with Charlie."
Gross and yummy.
Apparently, you're an endless encyclopedia of stories. Joe.
Oh, I could go on and on and on.
No.
I'm not going on and on with you. I'm going to have my man cook me some fish now. So bye.
Bye, Gail.
Hi, Gail.
Love you, Gail.
Cigars and kombucha. What a night. I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
Oh, there's Mal.
And Molly just appeared.
I'll take a drag for you, Molly.
Oh, your volume's off.
Molly.
Molly really impressed a friend of mine who was
She is.
last Tuesday. For the first time, she just watched and listened. And she goes, "Do you know that there's a naked girl there?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "You're getting distracted." She's like, "You're right, I am getting distracted."
I was going to say, Hope should have told me that she was going to put my video on. I could have been doing anything in that moment. I was back there. I am wearing your shirt.
As a fair warning, I'm automatically putting your video on. So you're flashing.
I was
On Facebook.
Look at the top panel. It's so cute.
What's that?
Look at everybody up there. It's so cute.
It's so cute.
Our little Zoom party.
Yeah, we're cute.
I raised my hand, but you had already said it. It's like, how is a conspiracy theory any different than what we're being told, like any of it? So I find myself not really triggered, but I find myself annoyed by that term, conspiracy theory, because I find it being used, for instance, well, people will say, oh, this Bill Gates thing is a conspiracy theory. Well, if you just look into what his own videos and what he says and all the basic facts, then it's all, like it's just research basically. And now things that are just researched and not on the mainstream narrative are all called conspiracy. And from my understanding, the conspiracy, within this apparent reality, conspiracy was coined by the CIA to undermine, discredit anybody who questioned the JFK assassination. So
What the?
So basically what you've got is annoying.
Yeah, I have an annoyance. I wanted to clarify. First of all, I wanted to clarify because I feel like it's like, I feel like the term conspiracy theory is just as much as like COVID. It's like this word, and it, I also have had my own process, like our friend, where I got to see where it was taking me, and also have come to this really fun place of realizing I was just so like desperate to know. So I went deep into all these different things, and I've decided I don't really know, and that's like totally fine with me. But I still have the annoyance because I see that all the time, that word being used. It's like the word hippie being used. I think it's just too blanket of a term. It's like,
okay, so that's a habit, Molly. What you're talking about is your habits. You're not talking about the world isn't here. The world doesn't exist. There's not other people doing this stuff. So the habit is annoyance, and that's really the key here. That's really the key, because then all this stuff is meaningless, which it is. It's completely meaningless. It's like there's this habit. It's a human habit. I've seen it a lot, where if I hear something said a certain way, I'm going to get annoyed with it. It occurs in my mind too, and it's like what I go for though, what I zero in on though, is the annoyance itself, because the annoyance tells me I'm believing against myself.
Right.
So the annoyance tells me that I'm making something out of this that's harmful to me. It's harmful to me. This is the kind of thing that could make me feel sick, for instance. And
it's
this
the kind of thing that would make me feel misunderstood, ostracized, outcast for no good reason, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, who minds that thing?
What?
It's like, who minds about being an outcast or misunderstood or anything like that? Those are just more distractions thrown up by the ego. So you see how how the trajectory goes. It's as if these people need to change the way they are so that you can stop feeling annoyed. See? So it's giving you an opportunity, and and coming back to none of this is real, none of this is real, and all of it is meaningless. There's nothing that you need to worry about or concern yourself about, or just sit there in an annoyed feeling, when you can have joy instead.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have complete joy, and in innocence, these people really aren't doing anything against anyone, against you or anyone else. They're really just giving you an opportunity to see what you're making real for yourself that's causing you to feel annoyed.
Yeah, it does seem real sometimes. It's sort of like, let's round up all the conspiracy theorists, let's round up all the anti-vaxxers, let's round up all these stupid fools, and like cast them away, and then I'm like, you're the fool.
you tend to get fiery and caught up in the game. So
I'm so fiery. I love getting fired up.
Yeah, so this is going to give you a lot of opportunities right now that you can use.
Yeah.
See, so that you're going to have a lot of opportunities right now. And you see how it is, Molly. You see how, you kind of have an affinity for this getting fired up, and getting all like that. And, that calls to you for a while until you see what it's doing to you, because it's not bringing you anything good. It's kind of fun while you're in it because like, oh, I got this power, but it's not the power of love. It's an ego power that's kind of like sets you up for a fall. So in a situation like this where it seems like kind of like the world is against you because the perception is that everyone else is like doing things so differently and shaming people that are different from the mainstream. And maybe I never heard round them up, but maybe round them up or something. You can laugh and have fun with that because the fear gives you the opportunity to feel that excitement that's right below it and get the healing. It's like love making. It's beautiful. Well, there's a sense of annoyance, there might be a sense of annoyance. Say you're in the middle of love making, then there's this sense of annoyance in the middle of love making, and you're just willing to look past it. It's like, oh, okay, we're okay. Everything's all right. It's like you can get hooked by these little things and get all, drawn out to where it's not fun anymore. But it's all for fun. Even the people that seem like they're going to round you up and take you away from nature and all that other stuff.
That talk of lovemaking just makes me want to wrestle.
Nice.
I'm like, if it's a wrestling lovemaking session.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Do that with you. That sounds good. Maybe.
Maybe I get somebody who's into that kind of thing.
Wrestling lovemaking. Molly is into
Spanking, perhaps.
Well, you know what? I got a poem for you instead. How's that?
I'm so surprised.
Okay. Here you go. You ready? Do you feel the power of passion and desire as we mix our like substance and purify with fire? Two souls reaching outward to find that high plane and the moment of ecstasy that proves that we're sane. Discovering the mystery of giving without reservation by fueling the fire of spiritual elation. As our bodies merge in unity with the eternal tide, our souls are laid open with nothing to hide. We see ourselves and each other in a glowing light. And in that moment, there's no denying our union is right.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Things memorized too. It's amazing.
I know, he's got one for everything. It's great.
Whose poem is that? Whose poem is that?
All this poetry just comes through me. I just, I open myself up to it and it comes through me.
That's awesome.
I think all poetry does that, but that's pretty cool. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I've got one more and then I'm going to clock out here. Okay, you ready? We spin through the universe on this tiny sphere. Do we have any purpose? Why are we here? Does this life that we live have meaning and goals? Do we live just to die and to pay out life's tolls? Our Creator made plans to bring about joy. He formed choice spirits into girl and boy. Find love, he said, and you'll find your way. Give to each other, draw closer each day. And when you've discovered my meaning of love, I'll build you a mansion, a home here above. Teach one another, give life a spin. I've fixed the game so everyone will win.
I'll take the mansion. Thank you.
Good. That was good.
Aloha, John.
Nice to meet you, John.
I'll see you lovely women later.
Bye.
Okay.
Nice to meet you too, and I'll
Okay.
You would be a great ex, Santa the comedian.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, huh? And he's got the castle. Go over there and visit him once he's back over there.
Where?
The castle at Seaview.
Oh, he owns the castle.
Yeah, he built it.
Awesome.
And he's
Yeah.
making a retreat place where people can go for nothing to learn what he has to teach. Wow.
What fun.
Yeah.
Yay, everyone. Well, it's 5:00 and I've had an amazing time with everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you, Hope.
the conversation. Yay. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Hawaii time. Also, I am going on Mondays. I'm going in person on Mondays. So if you want to see my Monday stuff, go to any of the, well, you can go to YouTube because it's been videotaped now, but videotaped. It's been recorded. It's being recorded now. So you can go to YouTube and you'll find them there. Also sending the recordings to all the podcast stations. Just look for Wisdom Dialogues or Hope Johnson or both. I don't know. You'll probably find it. And if you want to find it easily, you can go to my website, hopejohnson.org. You can find stuff there. And if you like essential oils, check out my website too, miraclebotanicals.com.
I just want to say the last thing you posted, the yesterday's in person is excellent. Yulia, you will love it.
Which one?
The one that she just posted for yesterday in person.
I love you.
Oh, the one that's on podcasts, right?
Well, it's on YouTube. Bye.
I listened to it on Spotify. I guess it's there too, right?
Yeah, and it's on video. Right now it's being video recorded because
Oh.
my friend Leah has the setup and we're doing it at her place.
Oh, cool. I'll listen to that for sure. I mean, listen to all of them.
Yeah.
But it's
Always.
good seeing her talking.
So
I pay special attention, Lori.
So, oh yay, Asana. Asana, you're always welcome back in the jungle. She said she misses being there in the jungle with us. She went, I think, all the way to the East Coast or something like that. So we'll see you when you get back. And Kai Molino, I love you. Thank you for joining online. I appreciate you. Everyone have a beautiful week, and we'll be back Tuesday. Hooray!
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Said hi yet.
Aloha, mahalo.
Ahui ho!
Ahui ho.